And one of the most painful stories in this tragedy involves 9-year-old Christina Green. A neighbor took Christina to Congresswoman Giffords' event because the little girl was interested in politics and government, and she was eager to help her community, having just been elected to the student council. Her parents thought it would be a great idea for her to go, thinking it would be a learning experience, and had no idea, of course, that it would be the last time they saw their little girl. Christina's dad, John Green, joins me now on the phone. John, thank you so much for being here, and my condolences, my sincerest condolences. My heart goes out to you and your family at the loss of Christina. I just want to have you take our viewers through the day yesterday and tell us, you know, first, what was Christina's morning like?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
How did yesterday begin? I mean, it was just a typical day, I assume.
Yeah, I got up and made Christina favorite bacon and cheese omelet, and kissed her goodbye. And, our neighbor came up, picked her up to go to the Gabrielle Giffords rally, and my wife. My son was going to go with him, but he had karate practice. My wife took my son Dallas to karate, and Christina and our neighbor, Susie Heilman, went to the rally.
And I understand that Christina was excited to meet the Congresswoman. She had just been elected, I guess, to the student council. Was she looking forward to the event?
Was looking forward to the event. Since President Obama got elected, that was when she began her interest in politics. My wife and her mother were big fans of President Obama, and myself leaned the other way. But we talked about all the issues about politics, and she was very interested. And she was interested about what Kathy or Gabrielle Giffords had to say.
Sure. And my apologies, the connection between us is a little sketchy. My apologies to the viewers, because that's the nature of cell phones. But John, this is important for us to hear your perspective, so thank you for bearing with us. So it sounds like you were typical Arizona, split politically, and yet little Christina was still interested in politics and wanting to go to meet her local congresswoman. Who was the neighbor who took her?
Her name was Susie Heilman, and she is our neighbor in the Tucson National area on the northwest side of town, only about 3 miles from the 3 or 4 miles from the Safeway there. And she was actually shot 4 times, from what I understand.
Did she survive?
She survived. We don't know much else about her prognosis or the extent of her injuries, but we know she survived. Everything was very hush-hush, because there were some casualties and people that didn't survive, and then others that were still fighting for their lives, and there was still a lot of security involved. All the names were anonymous, so when I showed up to the hospital, I didn't know Christina Green was there, anything like that. Difficult to...
Understood. And before Christina left that morning, what was the last thing she said to you, or you said to her?
Well, one of the things is she was such a very persistent, beautiful little girl, and she got an iPod Touch for Christmas. Santa brought her iPod Touch. She had asked me to set it up that morning, which I did, but she was thrilled with that. And then again, we made breakfast, and she just kissed me goodbye. So I love you, Daddy.
Oh. John, when did you learn that something had gone wrong?
Well, getting occurred about 10 after 10, but I got 4 frantic messages from my wife about 11:30. She was already at the hospital at that time. She had heard from Susie Heilman's husband he did not know what, and we thought it was a car accident. No. We didn't know that there had been a shooting. There's some type of accident, and Christina was in there.
And so you went to the hospital, you and your wife, and when you got to the hospital, what did the doctors tell you?
Well, because there was the lag time between my son and my wife there, and they had already told them. So when I got there, I saw the grave faces and knew something was very wrong. And they waited for the surgeon to come in, and the surgeon took us in and explained that her wounds were, it was only one gunshot, but her wounds were extensive, and he did everything he could to save her. She was a fighter, and at least we were able to meet her on the table and say goodbye. Nobody should ever have to do this with their daughter, but the one thing is we were all there together, and that going to be some tough days ahead for our whole family, but got to see her all together to heaven.
You had a moment, your family, your wife, your son, and yourself with Christina before you had to say goodbye.
Yes. Yes.
John, how do you explain something like this to your little boy?
Well, you know, we haven't started doing that. My son's interested in hunting and in guns in general. He's got Nerf guns and things like that. The only thing I did say is that, you see what happens, and you try to solve problems with guns. You can't solve problems with guns. There's always going to be more problems. This is such a random act. I don't want to raise alarm to such a rare thing to happen in Tucson, Arizona, which is a wonderful city, and the Northwest Side is a wonderful community. But it just shows that it can happen anywhere, and I think Christina, she was born on 9/11, the day the towers came down in New York City, and he left us on this tragic day. But everything in the middle was beautiful. We had 9 beautiful years with her. I know she wouldn't want things to change. Would not want restrictions. I saw what happened to our lives, specifically because I travel quite a bit. After 9/11, travel became a nightmare. We don't need any more restrictions on our society. I mean, I just think we got friends and family that we have surrounded ourselves with in this tragedy. If maybe that fellow who was shooting everybody, if he had some friends and family around him, prior to this, maybe this wouldn't happen.
Do you think, is that one of the lessons we can take away from this, John? I know when you lose a loved one, when the country sees a tragedy like this happen, we want to take some sort of a lesson away from it. Some have made it political, some have talked about the mental health system. What is your takeaway on it?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be random acts, but I think Christina and our family generally believes that there's a lot of good people out there, and that's what we're going to take away from this. After we've seen the outpouring of sentiment from all our friends, our family, people that we don't even know. We don't wish this on anybody, and I'm sure they didn't wish it on us. If we live in a country like the United States, where we are more free than anywhere else, we are subject to things like this happening, and I think that's the price we have to pay.
John, is there anything you need? Is there anything our viewers can do?
No, I just think for a little girl, Gabrielle Green, she lit up the world, and everybody affected everybody that she ever met. So I think very proud of her. I think President Obama even mentioned her name. I think that's something that she would be very proud of herself. And I just think if people just pray for her, we know she's up in heaven.
Indeed she is. She was the only girl on an all-boys baseball team. She had just celebrated her first communion and elected to the student council. Too short a life. Now gone at age 9. John, our condolences again to you, to your wife Christina, to your son, and to your entire family. All the best. Thank you so much for being with us on this tragic day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
What a special man and a special family and a beautiful, beautiful young girl.